All right, so yesterday we talked a little bit about the suffix ed, and we talked about different sounds that it can make. So we talked about how it can say id, it can say d, and it can say t. Yes, Mackenzie?
Ella's flying over to a
Okay, I don't need to hear tattling. Go put that away and come and listen, please. So, all of these suffixes are added when we're talking about something that already happened. So if I folded my airplane, it's something I already did. If I soared, or the airplane soared through the air, it already happened. And then it crashed to the ground, it already happened. So these are all verbs that happened in the past. Do you remember what a verb is?
I forgot.
Who remembers what a verb is? That's actually a noun. Person, place, or thing is a noun. A verb is an action. So it's something that's happening. So when you folded your airplane, you were doing something. It was a verb. When it soared through the air, your airplane was in action, right? When it crashed, that was an action, right? Yes? Yes, you can get a tissue and then you can go back and sit down. So there are reasons why some of these words have different sounds. So, let's see, where am I?
Miss Butcher,
Yes,
people are at the door.
people are at the door.
Yeah.
Okay,
They're
just
just
stay there.
looking in there. They're just looking.
Okay, it's probably the kindergarten roundup.
Yeah, it was.
So let's brainstorm some ideas. We already had a few. I'm going to write ED. And I'm going to put a line here because it's at the end. ED. And what were some of the things our airplanes did? They crashed. It says T, but I write ED. What else, Sammy?
It soared through the sky.
Soared. I say D, but I write ED. They glided.
It turned black.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with this pen. So they glided. I said Ed, and I wrote ED.
We folded them.
We folded them. Folded. I said Ed, and I still wrote ED. So these all have ED at the end. Can you think of some other words that don't have to do with what we did yesterday that might have happened in the past?
It flew.
Flew. Does it have the D, T, or ed sound? So flew is a different kind of word from the past. It is a verb. It is something that happened in the past, but we don't add D, T, or ed at the end.
I just forgot.
You forgot?
My dad folded the laundry.
He folded the laundry. Okay. Yes, you remember?
A kid was jumping.
Jumping. What do you hear at the end of jumping?
I-N-K.
It's not writing for me now.
I-N-K. No,
Listen carefully.
Oh,
Jumping.
I-N.
I-N-G. I-N-G. So is that the same as ed, d, or t? But let's change that ending. Jumped.
Why is it writing for you now?
I don't know.
Maybe
It's
just
picky.
leave it a little.
Jumped. So what do you hear at the end?
Sometimes it doesn't write, and sometimes it does.
But I write ed. Any other ideas?
He flashed.
Flashed.
Yeah, what are you doing?
He flashed his flashlight.
He
Flashed. What do you hear at the end of flashed?
ED.
Do you hear? What do you hear though?
T.
T. You hear t. Right? Any other ideas? Think of something you do that you did or you did yesterday. Sammy?
The paper plane glided.
Glided. We do have that. So we've got glided, crashed, soared, folded, jumped, flashed. Savannah? Forgot?
This word over here. It says ED.
United. So that is actually, that's a good observation. If this were right, I would put it over
No,
here.
like do it at the bottom. Do your
There we go.
cloud.
There's my cloud. United. So it does have the ED, but that's actually telling us the name of our country. So in that case, it's a noun. So sometimes nouns have the ED. Now you could unite people together. When they came up with the name United States, it's because we took all the states together and we made them join. We brought them together, we united them. So over there, it's a noun, but we can use it as a verb. Unite. I united the children so we could go to the movie or whatever. You bring them together. So we can use that as a verb or a noun. That's a tricky one. Gage?
We started.
You started. Very good. Started.
Is there a roundabout first grade?
Nope. No roundup for first grade. Yes. What does that say?
Weather?
That says weather. Do you see an ED at the end?
I thought I did.
You thought you did, but what is it?
Weather. It's a ER.
ER. And what does ER say? All right, one more idea.
It rained.
Rained. Something about this area doesn't want me to write. Let's try over here. Rained.
Maybe it just doesn't want you to like write right there.
Okay, so
It has like a disease over there.
when you hear a voiced sound at the end of a base word like crash, it's going to be crashed. It's going to be the d sound. Or if I jump, we have d at the end. Flashed, flashed, jumped, crashed, folded, rained. What does a bee do? A bee buzzed.
I thought you were talking about the little bee.
Start. Let's see, not start. Buzzed, rained, crashed, not folded.
Stop.
Jumped. Did I flash twice? No, flashed and crashed. That rhymes. Yes, dear. Child. So child has a d sound at the end, but it's a person. It's not something that happened, so that's going to be a noun, not a verb.
So put it in the bubble.
Stop.
Bubble.
Stop.
Bubble.
Okay, I made a mistake here.
This is Rachel.
I made a mistake for some of these. So I wasn't saying this right. So if I have jumped, flashed, crashed, what do you hear at the end?
T.
T. So if I have an SH, it's going to be an ED, but make the T sound. So if you say crashed, jumped, flashed, it all has a T sound. But what are you going to write? ED. Now if I have a base word with a voice sound like buzzed. What do you hear at the end?
E.
You don't hear ed. What do you hear? Buzzed. Go get a drink, dear.
D.
You hear what?
D.
That's a letter. What do you hear? What sound? Buzzed. D. So you hear d, but you're gonna write ed. Sword. Sword. I hear d at the end, but I write ed. And then if you hear id, at the end, like in united, glided, folded. If you hear id at the end of a word, what are you gonna write? Ed. So 3 different sounds. All right, I'm going to give you a new decodable reader. It's different than the other one we were looking at that was the page. This is an actual book. And this has ed sounds in it. And it explains to us here the rules. Id, when the base word ends in an in a D or a T. So if it ends in D or T, it's going to say id. When the base word ends in a voice sound, like buzzed, it would be D sound. And if it ends if the base word ends in unvoiced, like hush, it would be the T sound. So it's very confusing, and I said it wrong at the beginning. So we're gonna keep going over this. It's gonna take a while to remember what goes at the end, but just remember if you hear the T at the end, like flashed, it's not a T, it's an ED. Yes?
Yesterday I read that book.
You did. All right, I'm gonna give you one of these. You're gonna write your name, and we're gonna read through our red words and our vocabulary words. And we'll see if this is a little bit harder book.
I can probably read it. What's a
vocabulary Vocabulary word is a new word that you might not know. And we want to know the definition so that we can understand the story. All right, please write your name on this.
You can go to that way.